Good evening and welcome to the rest of the news. Our special guest this evening is Dr. Marty Fox. And Marty, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you. Well, I consider myself a patriot, a father, a husband, a grandfather, and a conservative. And I support Republicans when they're doing the right thing. I have a very busy plastic and reconstructive surgery practice. I've been a surgeon here for 32 years. I'm a former talk show host. There's not enough time in a day for me to do everything. I still host occasionally. So I try to get out there and talk to people as much as possible.
Right. Well, as we were saying earlier, there's a lot going on today. Maybe you could begin by telling us about this Harvard professor's situation.
Well, that's a very interesting story. We saw the story last week where the Harvard professors who now had to live under Obamacare and were complaining about the increase in the co-pays and the deductibles, which were very modest compared to, the average family on a bronze plan, which is the least expensive plan, where they have deductibles in the thousands. And it illustrates something, we all know about liberals, which is, the rules are for thee, not for me. So here we have these ivory tower professors who are, in fact, a lot of the people who helped design Obamacare. They're telling us how good it is for us because, of course, liberals always know what's good for us. And now they have to live in reality. And they're actually faced with these very modest premiums, and you see this amazing meltdown. It just illustrates how, they really have to live under the rules they make for us. We have a Congress that has exempted themselves from Obamacare.
Right.
So, on Obamacare, a lot of people don't know, and we care very much about life here, that Obamacare changes a lot about how Planned Parenthood operates and how they actually compel us to fund abortion.
Yes.
Before Obamacare, we had something called the Hyde Amendment, which forbids federal funding of abortion. That went out the window with Obamacare. And now you have plans, health plans, that fund abortion. They're trying to conceal it from us. And if you go to the Planned Parenthood website, and that's one of the websites that works, unlike, healthcare.gov, they will direct you to plans that cover abortion. And many people who are paying their Obamacare premiums don't even realize that part of their premium is going to fund abortion right now. And, this just gets into the lies, the deception. They passed this promising that wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
And for the people that are skeptical about this, we even had Jonathan Gruber, MIT professor, who designed a lot of the models for this, claims that he wrote the bill, gave multiple talks, which we've seen snippets of, where he brags about how they had to lie to pass this.
Yeah.
That they were depending on the stupidity of the American voter to pass this. And of course, the irony is that the people that passed it were Democrats. There was not a single Republican vote for this. So whoever he thought was stupid seems to be limited to the Democrat Party. But so here you have an admission of this, and an admission that he told President Obama that this wouldn't work. And President Obama has lied. It's very hard to say the president lies. We watched this for a long time. People don't want to say their president lies. But there's no getting away from this, where he told people their premiums would go down by $2,500, where you could keep your doctor, and none of that's true. And what we really have with Obamacare, it really has nothing to do about improving health care. We're talking about killing jobs, giving the HHS secretary dictatorial powers, like we see with what they tried to do with the contraception mandate. And that was turned over in a Hobby Lobby case, but now they're going after the little sisters of the poor. So
Yeah.
you have the President of the United States going after the little sisters of the poor,
Yeah.
who are correctly refusing to comply with this ridiculous mandate and go along with it. So, what Obamacare really is a massive redistribution scheme where people are being charged more so that they can pay for other people's insurance
Right.
with subsidies. And of course, we can't take away the subsidies. So we're creating a whole new dependent class, which is what the Democrats need to survive. They thrive on dependency. People that are self-sufficient won't vote Democrat. So they need that. And they need this huge Medicaid expansion. And, of course, they want the unwed mothers. The unwed mothers are the most dependent group on government. They're the first ones out there on food stamps, Medicaid, and that is a Democrat voter. So it's all intertwined, it's all deliberate, it's all choreographed. This is the way the Democrat Party sustains itself. And, it's not honest to talk about this without mentioning that our Republican Party is not being very good about getting rid of this. And what a lot of people may not understand is we have a war inside the party between the people that I consider conservatives, which in the current incarnation of the Tea Party, Ronald Reagan was the Tea Party.
Right.
They disliked Reagan the way they disliked the Tea Party. Why? Because the GOP establishment, my opinion, is comprised of big government, crony capitalists who will oppose anyone who wants to get back to a true limited government and cut off the gravy train. So, for instance, when we get to amnesty, the GOP establishment is in bed with the Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber of Commerce is a huge lobbying organization for big business. They want cheap labor. They want amnesty. The GOP establishment is they're not seriously trying to stop this. People watching will know that they passed a bill yesterday in the House, but they know that Obama's going to veto this bill, and they're not going to do a thing about it. With Obamacare, the Chamber of Commerce wants to offload all their employees onto the exchanges. It's a tremendous saving. And we understand why they would want that, but why does the Republican Party have to go along with that?
Right.
So they have a lot of incentives not to repeal Obamacare. And it's going to take a real conservative president, and we could talk about that if we have time, that is going to repeal Obamacare. I think if we get an establishment president, Jeb Bush, Romney, Chris Christie, we're going to see more of the same. We're not going to really see this repeal.
You mentioned about Gruber, and we have a DVD of him saying a lot of this material that, we had to do away with transparency to be able to pass it. And we also, on the same video, have Obama saying, if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor, period.
Right.
And if you like your insurance policy, you can keep your insurance policy, period. And it's got other things on here, too. Those are just little snippets. But if you'd like a copy of this DVD, just give us a call right now at 893-2444, and we'll send that out to you. It's absolutely free. Well, as you were talking, you mentioned the Hyde Amendment. Do you think it's possible to get the Hyde Amendment reinstated?
I don't think we're going to see a reversal of this unless we elect a real conservative president, and we can go down the list. The abortion industry establishment is very powerful, and we don't have leaders in the GOP establishment that can stand up to that. That, in my opinion, some people may disagree. I think there is huge support for life, and this gets back to some of my frustration with the Republican Party, because the Republican Party donors, the big money, they don't think the social issues, abortion, gay marriage, they don't think those are good issues. They think those are losing issues. They're completely wrong. I think almost nobody supports abortion, late-term abortion. Why don't they let us show pictures?
Yeah.
Why are they opposed to all these pictures? These same people who want to show a picture of Abu Ghraib or some other thing that advances their agenda are terrified of showing an abortion. They hid everything about Ghazni. They didn't want to talk about it. You couldn't get them to report about it. It's a tremendously popular issue. I mean, these people, they're okay with an abortion at 8 months and 29 days. That's fine. We even have President Obama, who opposed the Baby Born Alive Act. And if anybody doesn't know what that is, when he was the senator from Illinois, he blocked a law that would have allowed a baby born alive as a result of a botched abortion, who was born alive anyway, to be supported.
Right.
So what you had, and we had nurses, we know who these people are, willing to testify that a perfectly healthy baby was born alive and was put in a corner to die because of this, and he was very much responsible for this. So this is the thinking of the left. This is part of their whole theme of they're going to take care of us cradle to grave. And if you're lucky enough to get to the cradle, they will decide when you go to the grave. And it's funny, but it's serious, because you have articles now, especially with Obamacare. You have articles now from Ezekiel Emanuel. He's President Obama's guru on this. And now we just had an article couple of weeks ago about how you should die at 75. What's the big deal? You've done everything. We see all these articles now about what you don't need. You don't really need a mammogram. The way costs are controlled under any of these government-run plans is by rationing, by limiting care, by denying care. So suddenly we're being told, you don't really need that.
You don't need anything.
You don't really need a physical exam.
Yeah.
You don't really need to live beyond 75. What for? So it's no accident that we're starting to get this.
Well, do you want to mention about Paris?
And we had that, jihad in Paris, where you had radical Islamists go in there and kill the cartoonists and the editors of this Charlie Hebdo magazine. And, it's just another illustration of how President Obama is not really looking out for us from a national security point of view.
Right.
They cannot say the words radical Islam. They cannot identify the enemy. It's a pattern. It didn't start with this. And, a lot of people are asking why he didn't go to Paris. And a lot of people don't seem to understand this. So the most benign explanation of why they won't confront this is that it's just the liberal political correctness. They don't want to offend anybody. But that, for me, that doesn't explain it. Because here you have a president who supported the Christian killing Muslim Brotherhood. He supported them.
Yeah.
He funded them while they're burning down churches. And so that's not some passive little politically correct thing. There's a new president in Egypt. His name is El-Sisi. He made a tremendous speech the other day to clerics calling for a reformation. Islam is the only religion that has not had a reformation. And he totally wants to have nothing to do with him. He's actually trying to thwart him. So, you know, a lot of people, there's some great books from some really good authors like Andy McCarthy, who's a former federal prosecutor. He prosecuted the blind sheikh, about how the left colludes with Islam. And why would they do that?
Yeah.
So what the left and Islam have in common is contempt for our Constitution, for our freedoms, for our God. They have contempt for that. They both want to tear that down. They both want to transform Western civilization. And there's historical precedent for how they collude to advance these goals. You know, what would happen in the end? You know, they're probably going to have to kill. They're going to have to kill each other in the end if they're the only ones left standing. But there's some great authors that have explained this in great detail, and how the left. So whenever we get one of these events, like this murder of innocent people in Paris, whenever we get this, the first thing we hear from the left is, "Oh, it's not Islam."
Yeah.
That is not Islam. ISIL is not Islamic. This has nothing to do with Islam. It's reflex. The truth is, it has everything to do with Islam.
Right.
This is directly from the Quran. The terrorists are really following the Quran. The so-called moderate Muslims are the ones that are not following. They would be the sinners, according to the Quran. And until we confront that, I mean, most of us know it. We had this guy cut a woman's head off in Oklahoma at work. He beheaded a woman at work. You go to his Facebook page, and he has all these Islamic videos and beheadings. But the first thing we hear is this has nothing to do with Islam. So they are hoping, and they've been doing it successfully, to obfuscate, to confuse people, for most people not to realize that this is Islam.
Right.
While Islamists get a foothold in this country. We have mosques where we've had, radical imams who are encouraging violence. We have these Muslim front groups like CARE that have been invited to the White House. We have advisors in the White House that are from the Muslim Brotherhood. So this is not so innocent. It's not so benign. It could be very dangerous to us. And the faster people start thinking this way, there's a great article just today from Roger Simon, who writes for PJ Media. He's a playwright. And the title of the article is there a sleeper cell in the White House? Okay? And I was just, Rush was talking about it. I was listening to it on the way over here. But point, you can do, and what prompted this article is that no one's been able to understand why he didn't go to Paris. I mean, why wouldn't he go?
Yeah.
Why, and the only good explanation some people are beginning to think about is that there's a lot of sympathy with the other side, okay?
Yeah.
I sort of joked about it. I said if he went to Paris, he probably would have been hanging out in one of these no-go zones, which is this is like a country giving away part of their country. Imagine if we lived in Louisville, Kentucky, and the South End was, no police, no law enforcement, all Muslim. You couldn't go in there without maybe risking your life. They had their own courts, their own laws. They did whatever they wanted. This is what they have, over 700 zones like this in Paris, where the socialists in Paris, the politically correct socialists said, we'll let them do this. Well, they basically ceded a huge chunk of their country to someone else.
Well, are there any no-go zones in America?
You know, I don't know of any no-go zones yet, true no-go zones. But you hear a lot about Dearborn, Michigan.
Yeah.
Dearborn is like a hotbed of Muslim activity. I've heard some people say this is the greatest place in the world. It's a nice community. But we've had demonstrations there, people burning the American flag, all kinds of reports of, Sharia law being implemented. So, if there's any place that might become that right now, that seems to be the place. But the other thing is this, and one of the phrases I really like is that inaction is louder than words. We like to say action is louder than words. Inaction is louder than words. We have a president who doesn't want to stop anything.
Right.
He's
At least not
going,
Muslims.
he's going out of his way to allow these things to happen that normally we wouldn't permit. He's using all the powers of the federal government to, in fact, the latest thing, and people may have read about this, but Eric Holder is about to impose a religious profile ban. In other words, you can't, as far as surveillance goes, FBI investigations, they have scrubbed the word jihad and Islamic terror from the manuals. That doesn't exist. You're not allowed to ask people about their religion. Of course, if you look at the last 20 attacks, they're almost all committed by Muslims. So you have to ask yourself, why does our Justice Department, who wants to go after the Tea Party, they want to go after gun owners, anybody who's pro-life is on the terrorist watch list, but they want to protect these obvious Islamic terrorists. President Obama released 5 more terrorists from Guantanamo.
Oh, and 5 more?
Yeah, they act like they don't know how to identify these radical Islamists who want to kill us. But I think he knows exactly who they are because he keeps releasing them.
I was watching, I think it was YouTube a day or two ago, and they had a huge rally with several thousand people in Iran, and they were chanting, "Kill Americas, kill America."
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, President Obama's relationship with Iran illustrates exactly what we've been talking about. So he's basically allowing them to get a nuke. They've said they want to kill us. They want to wipe out Israel. We should take them at their word. So while he negotiates with Iran and basically lets them have what they want, at the same time, he is giving Israel a very hard time.
Yes.
President Obama is now the zoning commissioner in Israel. He's telling them where they can build homes and where they can't build homes, and is giving them a very difficult time. And it's totally the reverse. So, the theme of his policy, one of the themes seems to be, to make it difficult for our traditional allies and assist our enemies.
Right. Now, do you want to say a few words about this immigration, amnesty?
This is something President Obama really wants as part of his legacy. And why do Democrats want this? Why do they want to bring in millions of low-income people? These are not rocket scientists, doctors that are coming across the border. These are the poorest of the poor. So, number one, it gives them Democrat voters. These are what they expect to be reliable Democrat voters. Number two, the Democrat Party needs a dependent underclass. They don't want rocket scientists who don't need food stamps. So it's pretty clear why the Democrat Party wants this. What's frustrating is why our Republican Party establishment is going along with it. This is, this is a big charade. They act like they oppose it, but the truth is that the Chamber of Commerce funded all of their primary campaigns to defeat the Tea Party. Like here in Kentucky, the main reason Mitch McConnell was able to defeat Matt Bevin was he was able to outspend him by almost $10 million. That $10 million came from the Chamber of Commerce. The same thing was repeated in Mississippi, where our GOP establishment called conservatives racists to win this election for Cochran. But it's all funded by the Chamber of Commerce because the Chamber of Commerce wants amnesty. You know, John Boehner can really talk tough after the fix is in, because he knows that they don't have the votes to defeat a veto, and President Obama has already said he's going to veto it. So they do have a choice. They could stop it. They could shut down the government. There have been 18 government shutdowns, but they really don't want to. The reason they don't want to, in my opinion, is they really want amnesty. They have bought into this lie that they're going to get they can't get Hispanic votes if they don't pass amnesty. Who's telling them this? Democrats, right?
Yeah.
So, but they want to do it for the chamber. So it's a big charade, and this will transform America. And it would be much easier to say, we've got 90 million people out of work.
Yeah.
Why do you want to bring in millions of illegals that are going to take those jobs? It would be easy to go to the blue-collar workers and say that, but they're not. And the presidential candidate that does that is going to win. And that will be somebody like Ted Cruz, maybe Mike Pence as a dark horse. There's several people that will do it.
Go to the blue-collar workers and
Blue-collar workers were the Reagan Democrats. They were Democrat voters who realized that the Democrat Party is really not looking out for them anymore.
right. And of course, there's going to be a lot of debt when they bring all these people in and give them Social Security, and you know, we're saving for our retirement and Social Security, and they're going to give it to these illegals.
Exactly right. And that's what they did with Obamacare, too. They took $700 million out of Medicare. People pay into that.
Yeah.
And they created a new Medicaid program with it.
And a lot of drugs are going to come across the border.
Drugs, the cartels,
Yeah.
diseases. You know, our media, I call this a media, the prostitutes.
Yeah.
All these people that cover for Obama. You know, they didn't even want to report about all these diseases that came across the border. We've got kids dying of these viruses that they never had before, that we know are endemic in that population.
Don't forget, if you want this free DVD of Gruber and Obama and several others, just call this number right now, 893-2444. And we certainly appreciate Dr. Fox for being here, and want you to tune in again next week for the same program, The Rest of the News. Good night.